investigate the riots at the Capitol on January 6th, but Republican lawmakers have asked the Speaker for details about what she knew about security threats before that day. Representative Mike Turner says that Capitol Police presented the House's sergeant-at-arms with evidence that there could be violence. The Ohio Republican tells Newsmax TV that Pelosi needs to address what happened with that intelligence.
That he had informed the sergeant-of-arms, and the sergeant-of-arms had declined that additional support. Now, everyone assumes, and the understanding is that the sergeant-of-arms reports directly to the Speaker of the House. He would certainly have gone to her and to her office and requested and given them the information and requested guidance before he would have rejected that additional protection. So this is going to be pretty important, because if it turns out that Nancy Pelosi turned down additional protection for the Capitol, she may have, in the end, brought forth articles of impeachment because she turned down appropriate protection for the Capitol.
From the USA Radio News Ohio Bureau, I'm Dan Naraki.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Hello, and welcome to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. I'm here with our co-host, Leland Faegre. And we heard the sad news this morning, which we have to lead off the show with, that a very famous conservative radio talk show host, Rush Limbaugh, passed away this morning.
The golden microphone goes silent.
Yes.
As anticipated. We knew he was... I had tuned in yesterday, and I remarked to somebody he'd been out an entire week, which has been rare for him. Following his treatments, he comes back 2 or 3 days later, when he felt good,
right,
of his own, determination. He wanted to be 100%, and he sounded 100%. When lastly he was at that golden microphone,
his voice didn't crack.
No, it didn't. No. He sounded very good. I think his last broadcast was a week ago Friday. And he sounded every bit as good as he ever was. So.
Well, he was a professional, that's for sure.
He sure was, the consummate professional. And he didn't want anyone to fail to notice that he was the consummate broadcaster, I think.
Oh, yeah, well, he...
Right up to the end.
Yeah, he challenged the left to all the time, with half a brain and
tied behind his back,
and all that. Yeah,
he had a lot of cliches that have, his own imprimatur on them that will forever be associated with his style, his legacy.
Right.
Quite something. I've been tuning into him. I'll have to admit to our audience since the late 80s myself, on and off now. I was never particularly committed to Limbaugh's interpretation of the political landscape because he failed to acknowledge the globalist part of this subject matter, which is even today, even after Trump, is not as well discussed as it should be.
No, it isn't.
And so I always criticized him for that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when he got close with the Bush legacy.
I was going to bring that up,
I had
not to disparage him in any way, but that's when he was in the early 90s and he was involved with the culture war with people like Andrea Dworkin and the people he called feminazis and believed that all heterosexual sex is rape and, white patriarchy and all this, then he really hit the that was the peak of his popularity under Clinton, I think. Well, not the peak. I'm sure he had a lot of people to the end, but
he had
still,
more.
I think his impact was the greatest under Clinton.
I think his surveys at the very end were as high as they ever were. They were over 50%, I think, of the listening audience. I can't say enough about his legacy. He's an intriguing person. He had a drug dependency himself.
Right.
Which no one likes to talk about these days, of course, and it will be part of his legacy of his historical legacy, but OxyContin, I think, was the drug that he had trouble with, and I guess there were some personal issues. I mean, he was no walking saint, I suppose.
No.
We all know that where he was weak on various things, but back to his political legacy, his broadcast legacy, it was his reluctance, his reticence to discuss globalism and the Council on Foreign Relations, even though his father apparently knew of this.
Oh,
And
did
yet,
he?
yeah, so he made a conscious effort to take that part of the subject that he was discussing on a daily basis out of the political landscape. I guess he wanted to reach a listener that on some level that he may have felt was necessary to the overall discussion, and the discussion of globalism maybe would have put them off. I mean, I'd have to think for him, and I can't do that. But
Well, when I think of him during the Bush era, I mean, he was very much in favor of the Iraq War and imperialism and all that.
yeah,
and,
that's why I couldn't listen to him.
Right. I turned him off then, too, a lot.
Right. But what changed, of course, as it changed all of us, the transformation of civilization was Donald J. Trump.
Right.
And I remember being in Columbia Falls, Montana, driving into Kalispell one morning, and I found Laura Ingraham on my radio dial.
Uh-huh.
And I never listened to her because she was a female version of Limbaugh, you know. And then I thought, as I listened, who is this? This is Laura Ingraham?
Mm-hmm.
Because she apparently either she was always there but couldn't address the subject matter from the perspective of globalism, or Trump made it easy to talk about.
I think it's probably the latter because, now when you turn on Laura Ingraham, sometimes she even talks about bringing the troops home. It's her Catholicism. The popes don't want wars, and I'm surprised at all the American Catholics that just go with the imperialism and have no qualms about it. But she began to criticize the neocons, and so did Rush in his own way.
He did very solidly.
But I guess, like you said, Donald Trump is what gave them the carte blanche to go ahead and do that.
And I don't know whether it was the courage or just having the association. I mean, I knew that they were personally, he has his place in Mar-a-Lago and Rush is in West Palm Beach, so they're neighbors effectively.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know much more about it than everyone else does. But it clearly was a transformation for almost everyone on the political landscape. Even our enemies were transformed by not only Trump but Rush Limbaugh, and I see they're going after him today, but already, But it's a little too late because it's formerly nicotine-stained fingers are no longer with us.
Small town quality and care with today's most advanced technology in the truck and automobile repair industry. It's exactly what you'll find at Dynamic.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. I'm here with Leland Faegre.
And a damn good host, too, by the way.
Well, I thank you for that. But so what also transpired, and we were talking about President Trump, and he did win acquittal, as everybody really knew he would, in the sham impeachment that the House put up for him. And we got a kind of a new American hero with his attorney, Michael van der Veen.
Yeah, a Dutch lawyer.
A Dutch lawyer, right? From Philadelphia, that's what he called
What
it.
are the odds?
Yeah. And what are the odds that a personal injury attorney from Philadelphia, from a small law firm, could beat a Harvard constitutional law professor?
He definitely had an emotive quality to him.
Right.
Which was very impressive to me.
Yes. And I saw him in an interview with some people. I don't know whether his law firm, he was speaking for his law firm, but he seems to be genuine. He said that he was brought up in a single-family home and a single-parent home, and he had a struggle. He's working class, and he worked hard all his life, and he got his degree. And the law firm appears to be, it's not a corporate law firm, although they do some corporate work. It's a people's law firm.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, people's law firm.
That's right.
That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah. I mean, he does some criminal law, and then he does the personal injury, but that would be mostly against corporations and insurance companies.
Hardly celebrity-type attorneys.
No. Yeah. No, he's not. And so I'm glad to see that there are people and attorneys like that, because, 95% of lawyers give the other 5% a bad name.
But he paid the price for it.
You mean because his home was graffitied.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they spray painted his driveway and such.
They meant it as a threat.
Yes, I'm sure he has received other threats.
We're dealing with thugs on that side of the aisle.
I know.
Yeah, and they don't take any effort to talk that down. They're right on top of it.
Exactly.
Or let it go, just to,
Oh yeah, I mean, you can see all the time independent media is being canceled. It's really becoming very totalitarian, and who knows how long this show will be on the air. If we could be canceled, I'm sure they would do it, because we bring up topics on this show that nobody else can really talk about unless...
yeah, but we have security out here.
Yeah, we have security in the lobby, that's right. But, I mean, they can go after your bank accounts, your PayPal accounts.
Well, it's not Belfast. Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Now, their response, then, is to go after the guns. Biden wants another assault weapon ban.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they don't do anything, they don't significantly reduce crime.
Nope.
And Sheila Jackson Lee, did you see hers?
No. I feel fortunate that I didn't see hers.
Yeah, she wants everybody to get a license for any gun, and to have to renew the license every 3 years, and have to go through psychiatric evaluation just to exercise your right to, keep and bear arms.
Translation: political correctness.
Yeah, exactly.
Psychological.
Now, I don't think her bill will get anywhere, and I sure hope that Biden's bill doesn't get anywhere. And then the idea of suing gun manufacturers if somebody commits a crime with a gun, that's absurd.
Yeah, I think they're more likely to go after ammunition than they are manufacturers of the actual delivery system. But maybe, who knows? Here's what I know about Joe Biden. He wakes up every morning, looks at Jill and says, "Where the hell are we?" We're going to have that clip for you next week. We've just discovered it here, so stay tuned.
Yes. So, it's just good that the good guys won for a change. I mean, the House doctored evidence, and van der Veen really took down that NBC reporter, if you missed that.
Yeah. No, CBS reporter.
CBS.
Yeah,
it's
CBS very good.
Reporter.
Yeah. And Mike Lee interrupted the proceedings on wasn't Saturday morning amazing? Man, I'm so glad I'm an early riser, because I would have missed some great television there.
Right. Well, you mean because they tried to, they wanted witnesses?
Yeah.
And they thought that the House, they pushed a vote for witnesses and they won. Some Republicans voted to have more witnesses. But then the Republicans said, okay, if you want witnesses, we're going to depose Nancy Pelosi and AOC and the mayor of Washington.
And the House managers must have known that would have been their response.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing they were expecting to get out of it was just the entrance of this Republican's testimony, this hearsay, into the record. That's all they were hoping for during that whole thing. But man, was that breathtaking, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Really something, because you're talking about lots and lots of witnesses if they want to go down that road.
Mm-hmm.
They would have been at this a month from now, you know.
Yeah, and they would be shooting themselves in the foot in many ways, but one of the ways is
in the head, I think.
Yeah, not being able to do anything about the agenda, which is probably a good thing.
Well, I don't think they can get any of that through either.
I
So
hope not.
maybe that was they just really don't, they're feeling their way through this. They don't really know exactly where this is going.
Yeah, Biden doesn't know anything about foreign policy. Any plan, any strategy.
Psaki
that
calls it
anybody
his favorite subject. Remember, did you see that during the week?
Yeah, he said
Psaki said that foreign policy is his baby. That's what he really, he doesn't know where the bathroom is.
No. And, he's sending troops back into Syria. He's contradicting himself about China right before the campaign. He said, come on, man.
Yeah.
China's so behind, they can't do anything to us. And then all of a sudden, at a White House conference after he's elected, China's going to eat our, cake. They're coming after us. He's totally confused as far as I can see.
Mm-hmm.
And then we thought he was keeping Kamala Harris in the basement and not giving her anything, but now we find out she's the one calling all these leaders.
Heads of state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he hasn't tried to contact
Here's the way that conversation goes.
Yeah.
Macron, this is Kamala. Who? Kamala, the vice president.
Kamala? No, Kamala.
Oh, man.
And speaking of Macron, the French are suddenly upset about American wokeness. They don't want us exporting any more of these radical woke ideas into France, even though you could argue they originated in France with the the constructionists, the post-constructionist thinkers like Foucault. But nevertheless, they don't want it sent back there. Not that France is going to turn into Russia anytime soon, because they're already pretty woke.
Well, it'll turn Robespierre over in his grave.
Yes. Bring out the guillotine.
Yeah.
The Europeans are just totally bonkers at the moment. They are threatening new sanctions on Russia over the Navalny fiasco. And Lavrov just went to him in his deadpan way and said, if you put any more sanctions on us because of our internal affairs with this convicted fraudster, then we're just going to leave the EU. What do you think of that?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. You can't leave. We need you.
What's Merkel going to do about her oil or gas pipeline? Anyway.
Yeah, she's pushing forward with it. She's acting pretty irrationally. She's in like the menopause of her career.
That was supposed to be done, 2.5 months ago or 3 months ago, something like that?
Yeah, they keep bringing it up. They keep threatening sanctions on any private European countries that are involved with it. And so that's been the main hurdle. Russia has taken over a lot of the final construction. So, if they sanction Russia, so what?
Right.
But still, it's still dragging on a little bit. Hopefully it'll be completed soon. But, Germany is a little bit like Texas in that they are trying to go all renewable, and they haven't been able to do it.
California's coming to Texas.
Yes. Now, to be true, I read that the natural gas and coal plants also had problems. So it could be more than the renewables that failed, but they didn't, for some reason, they didn't weatherize these veins, so they just froze up.
Yeah.
And the people in Texas are going out and spending a few hours in their car to get warm.
It's going to be very interesting to see how the leadership there responds to all of this,
Right.
in a comprehensive way, because they have to make energy available. I mean, these are life-threatening conditions that affect some people, And
Well, cold is worse than heat.
yeah,
I mean, more people die of hypothermia and freezing conditions than die in heat waves, which is why I could never understand this whole global warming hysteria, because if the world gets warmer, that's generally a good thing.
it's a fad. It's cultivated in the school system.
Well,
And
yeah.
there's really nothing to it. It's empty. It's vacuous. It gives them something to talk about and something to shame us with.
Right. And that's always important. That white guilt is a big player in how they keep their power.
I know I need to pay attention to my health, but I just can't see
This overload.
Shannon Lawson here. Join us for the Nevada Radio Roundup, Fridays at 2 p.m. A good news variety show all about the local scene. The Nevada Roundup, Friday at 2.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, and my co-host, Leland Faegre. And we had a scandal among our enemies.
We did?
Yeah, the Lincoln Project turned out to be a front for the founder, John Weaver, to coerce or recruit, whatever you want to call it, hundreds of young men into sex in return for jobs or other connections that he could provide them. And
How many?
I heard hundreds. Now,
Really?
Yeah, after
That doesn't surprise me, but they're
after a few came out, then
Yeah.
more and more. That's how it usually works.
not. Yeah,
so.
it's a couple dozen officially, I think, that
Yes.
have acknowledged it.
Yes, but so maybe the others didn't actually.
I think we're going to hear from them.
Yeah, I think we are.
Probably by this afternoon.
Right.
Was Mrs. Conway, Mrs. Kellyanne Conway,
Yeah.
that was married to one of the central
George,
figures.
her husband George.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the big wigs in there, and he so far has escaped this kind of scrutiny. But the fact is, this was a grifting operation. They raised enormous amounts of money from anti-Trump Republicans, and then they spent most of it on themselves.
On themselves, yeah. At least three corporations owned by these central figures. And we've known about this for a year. I've been hearing about this for a year.
Right.
And yet that must be legal under the tax codes. And, the election law. There has to be some legality to it, or it would have broken down before this.
Yeah. So it's not a question of illegal. It's probably more a question of ethical, and and what you should do, which is the same thing with Joe Biden's son-in-law, who now is, we find out, is getting access. He's in the healthcare field, and he's getting access to, the vice president, and he's putting out that the vice president is his father-in-law and so on. And Biden is showing up at conferences, or has shown up at conferences for his company. And so this is pretty widespread. It's going on all the time. We had Nancy Pelosi with all the options she took out on Tesla and other green energy companies.
Well, they weren't even demure about it. I mean, Schmidt went on Bill Maher. And effectively, seemed to be proud of it, that this money was
the money, yeah.
The money was being diverted.
And Maher never asked him about the sex scandal.
No, it never came up, did it?
No, it never did.
Right.
So, these people tend to stick together, unfortunately. You know, birds of a feather flock together, and
Is that your own?
yeah, no, I think I've got that somewhere.
Oh, it's damn good.
So, but the thing, and then conservatives being involved with pederasty or solicitation is, remember
Yeah,
Larry
it's-
Craig?
Oh, yeah.
Senator Craig with his toe tapping routine in the airport lavatories.
Man, oh man, that was a long time ago.
Right. And of course, there's a lot of whispers about Senator Lindsey Graham, and on Twitter, people call him Lady Lindsey. And he, you know, it's not, they don't want to out him because.
But he doesn't need to be.
No.
Everyone knows it.
Yeah, it's
So-
sort of like President Buchanan.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people don't realize we had a gay president in the 1850s, but again, he was in the closet. He just had a male roommate all his life, like J. Edgar Hoover. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the hypocrisy, and it's passing bills that hurt other people of the same sexual orientation.
Yeah, it's the hypocrisy of it.
Right. It's the hypocrisy card. So we have another couple of hypocrites outed. And then getting back to the impeachment trial, you know, Jonathan Turley has been taking a lot of heat, and he came out.
Are we circling back?
Yeah, we're circling back.
Okay.
Yeah, we're pulling a Jampelski. We're circling back, and he said that even though he did write what they said he wrote, that said that a person who's been out of office, a private citizen, can be impeached. There's only been a couple of cases, one of them from England, about that, and neither of them got a conviction. And he said he's changed his mind, and he did not now believe that you can impeach a former president, especially with no evidence whatsoever. I mean, they never held any hearings. They never produced any testimony under oath. It was all, hearsay and hearsay on hearsay. It was news reports.
But it was presided over by Supreme Court Chief Justice Patrick Leahy.
Yes. He's so impartial. He says, nobody that's been around me can say that I'm not impartial when I chair a committee.
He needs to know how to shut off his microphone at the appropriate times.
Yes.
Did you hear some of that got out?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
So
well,
elaborate.
We can't discuss it here. We'd be shut down by the FCC.
Okay. Oh, dear.
Yep.
All right. Or fined.
Or fined.
Yeah, something like that.
And I don't want to pay the fine.
No. So the amount of the depths of the depravity in Washington, D.C. are on display for anybody that wants to see it. And government has failed us on every level especially since the pandemic came out. And, the people are... There was no need for the lockdowns, and they're still defending the lockdowns. They could have done a much better job. We have so many people out of work and losing their jobs because of it. And yet, what choice do we have? There's talk of a third party again, and the Patriot Party on the right, and the People's Party on the left. But it's very difficult to get a third party that will do anything except occasionally in a nonpartisan race to get elected.
Yeah, it is, and will be very difficult to organize and pull off a third party, especially with the establishment as ruthless as they are.
Right.
They could use it against us too, so they don't care whether Democrats are, the majorities of the three branches. They don't care, So it would be us that would be hurt by that. So it really has to be articulated well and logistically planned appropriately to win, because there's no substitute for victory.
Yes, and the thing is that you can't win unless you somehow bring the right and the left together and with common ground.
Right. Well, they're not going to permit that to take place. They're going to step in and make sure that we're divided, because that suits their interests. We are on the threshold of a new American Civil War, so we can't lose sight of that.
Right.
It's very important to their long-term grand design.
Yeah, and, once you have a civil war, then that really is an insurrection, and people really can lose their civil rights during an insurrection.
Yeah, exactly. And scarce attention or discussion about secession. There's very little. Trump, I think should probably put that out there, float that as a last resort, because it could come to that very easily. And that would be a safe way to resolve this, even if we were not contiguously aligned geographically in the country among the 48 states. If it was Idaho and Montana and Wyoming and Nevada over here and Texas over there, and however it plays out. But secession would be a peaceful way to resolve the kinds of potential threats that we're talking about here on Talking Truth to Power.
Well, I believe Texas did introduce a secession bill.
You mean don't mess with Texas?
Yeah. But they do that a lot.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to get their energy policy fixed first. That's job one at this point. They get a little snow and everything shuts down in Texas, of all places.
Well, this was the first time in history they got a severe weather warning like this, a severe winter storm warning. And
they couldn't keep the turbines going.
You can't say that weather equals climate, but in fact, I think we're going to be in for cooler winter, a cooling period. I think by the time they organize to spend trillions of dollars on global warming, we're going to need some help with global cooling.
Oh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, all the evidence that I look at is that it's not warmth we should be concerned about. But cooling.
Well, like that famous Marxist Groucho said, government is the art of looking for trouble, finding it, and then misapplying the wrong solution.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And people are unaware, in most cases, of the mini ice age, which wasn't really all that long ago, where the Thames froze up.
Right.
And you can't blame the internal combustion engine on that one.
No.
So we do go through phases, natural phases of warmth and cooling, and we should not be alarmed about it.
Right. We should look to adapt more than try to stop, mitigate it. And you just can't blame it on human activity and carbon dioxide, CO2.
CO2 is actually good for us.
Yeah.
Don't let them get away with that nonsense.
No. That make the deserts bloom.
I just emitted a bunch of CO2 right here.
Not as much as emitted in Congress every day.
Driving force and truck and auto repair. Everybody knows dynamic diesel.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm Brendan Trainor here with Leland Faegre. And, the Nevada legislature is getting into session. And before we talk about too many things regarding specific bills, since we're constitutional conservatives here, we would like to talk about some of the constitutional amendments that we have in front of us.
There's one in particular.
Right. Well, there's SJR 8 is a constitutional amendment to guarantee equal rights, but not just for women. This time it's explicitly for gender and sexual orientation.
Here in Nevada?
Here in Nevada.
Huh. So we never had that before, huh?
No. What could possibly go wrong with that?
I go by the legislature after the show every week.
Do you?
I drive by it.
Yeah.
And I can't help but wonder what could possibly go wrong in that body now that it's comprised of mostly Democrats and what is it, mostly women now too, right?
Right.
So we're starting to see it right here.
Well, the Republicans have a few more representatives than they did in the last session, but it's still predominantly Democratic, and the governor is still a Democrat. So we, I know the Nevada families people are saying that this would mean tax money for abortions, which a lot of people would not go along with, including us here at Talking Truth to Power.
Spend their own money on that kind of stuff.
Right.
Go a long way towards eliminating the practice altogether, except where, essentially it's necessary.
And how many lawsuits would you have, with people that are going to say that they were discriminated against because of their gender, or their what they identified, what gender they identified.
Well, that's where it's going, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
Which gender? Yeah.
And the thing is that, as Gordon Peterson said, it's not that if somebody identifies as something that they're physically not, that you can see as they're not, in polite society, you would normally afford them the courtesy of using the pronoun that you wish to use. But when it's compelled speech, when the government says you have to use these pronouns, he fought that tooth and nail, and he came out ahead, but still, there's not a lot of people that have that kind of courage to do it.
And there's not enough support. There's just not enough thinking people out there, apparently, that would give it the legitimacy it deserves.
Mm-hmm. That's why today at Talking Truth to Power, I posted a video from a lesbian YouTuber.
I saw that post.
Yeah, and she is no longer on the left, and it's precisely because of this mania for, she says, I don't think there's 97 genders.
Right. Nobody believes that.
No.
Not even the people who are espousing it.
Right. And so...
By the way, did you get a tweet from the CIA on Twitter the other day?
No.
Well, they sent out a Valentine's Day message in a poem.
Oh, yes, they did. I did get that tweet, and I was so glad that, that we have such warm and caring human beings occupying our secret spying agencies.
Turns out there's
sent out a Valentine to everybody.
Yeah, turns out there's poetry at the Central Intelligence Agency.
What is it? Roses are red, violets are blue.
Honestly, I didn't even read the story. I just saw the headline. Did you actually read?
I did, but I can't remember the exact words. But it was something along the lines of "Roses are red, violets are blue." We're the CIA, and we love you.
So they were having fun with us, is what they were having.
Well,
they were mocking us.
They were mocking us.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's your tax dollars at work.
Right. Exactly. And who knows what they're looking. It's kind of like reminds me of at holiday times when in some jurisdictions the police will pull you over, and then you think you're going to get a ticket,
just to say Merry Christmas.
They'll say Merry Christmas or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. My family went through Wyoming one time and was pulled over, and it was just a tourist greeting. Welcome to wherever it was we were. I don't remember it was in Wyoming. Yeah.
In the meantime, you're you're getting very nervous and you're losing your control of your bowels.
Yeah. Or in the worst case, reaching for a firearm.
Right.
There's something that went wrong, huh?
Yes. So.
And then Hillary Clinton posted a photo of herself with Obama and Biden on President's Day. Did you see that one?
No.
No sign of Bill in the picture.
Somehow I don't think they're getting along in their dotage.
Well, it probably has a lot to do with the fact that that Bill is not the father of their daughter.
Chelsea?
Yeah. You knew that, right?
No, I wasn't quite aware of that.
Webb Hubble.
Webb Hubble, yes, that's right.
Now, if you put an image of Chelsea next to Webb
Hubble,
you'll see
the
who
same
her father is.
Cheek,
Yeah.
facial characteristics, yeah. Now I remember. It's so hard to remember all the things that Hillary did. And thank God we're rid of her for the most part.
Well, she had to have a child while she was with William Jefferson Clinton. And it wasn't going to be William Jefferson Clinton's baby. Webb, what are you doing? That's how that happened.
Oh, the secret lives of the rich and famous.
Strange world, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And there are a couple of other constitutional amendments to keep an eye on. One of them would be to exempt K-12 tax increases from the 2/3 vote requirement that we have now in Nevada, although they find ways to get around that. But still, it's on the books, the Gibbons tax amendment. And so they want to remove that for public schools because, public schools would be just fine if they only had some more money.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah, they're starved for cash.
Yeah.
Everybody knows they're starved for cash.
Yeah. They're starved for common sense, but I don't know about cash.
That too.
Yep.
Well, when the weather warms up a little bit, and Sissy-Lack comes out into his yard and starts pruning his roses and watering his lawn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go over there and just say what's up, because he's a neighbor right there in Carson City. You can just ride right by it.
Okay. Well.
Governor, what's up?
Taxes, regulations.
He is loosening things up now, though, a little bit.
Well,
to
we
his
need
credit,
it.
not that they should have ever been tightened up to begin with,
No.
or locked down to begin with, but he's loosening them up.
It's all because of them Italians. When China did its lockdown, nobody thought Western countries would do it, and then Italy panicked and they did it, and then they all fell like dominoes. This is the way to do it.
Well, I can see in Tahoe, where I live, that Californians are coming up there to take advantage of the restaurants that are open on our side of the line.
Okay.
So that has benefited Nevada. I'm sure he's criticized for it on that side of the line, but nonetheless, that's the way it's been up there.
Yep. And there is another amendment that we should mention, and that's to raise taxes on mining. Quite a bit.
And we are still the largest producer of silver in the world, aren't we not?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, so there's going to be some money there.
I heard some leftist professor who's been around forever and gets on the local shows. He's saying that the mines are already played out. It's not going to be a big deal. So
Nothing left?
Nothing left.
Yeah.
Nothing left to tax, so we might as well tax all of it, I guess. Yeah, and we still don't have our public lands back. That's been a 20-year debate, and even though the legislature passed the law, it's still being ignored. At least we have medical marijuana so we can smoke our troubles away.
Yeah. I think there's something to that, actually.
Recreational marijuana.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Because you could go into a licensed retailer for that, but you couldn't go into a church.
Right. Yeah, that was strange.
Yeah, very strange.
Or a bar.
Or a strip club.
Well, yeah. Although bars are more for being social as a rule than dispensaries are. You pretty much have to just do your business and leave, and they don't allow you to consume in a dispensary. But unlike in Holland, if they haven't changed it, because they're getting more conservative over there in Amsterdam.
Are they?
Yeah. They're going to shut down the red light district. They said they're going to move the girls somewhere else, but none of them are happy about it. They like having their little windows, where you can walk by and pick and choose whom you want to have a date with. But why is it that freedom is so disparaged that we can't seem to keep any of it. It's constantly under attack.
Or understood. It's just not understood.
Yeah.
And all I want to say is, free Britney.
Well, we'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in.